who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
To quote the CDC director, 75% of all COVID deaths had 4 or more comorbidities, meaning these people were already very sick, what we told you. You would think the left would start to ease up on the mandates and the oppression. Not so much. See, now, quietly behind the scenes, you have tyrannical bureaucrats actively working to ramp up the war against you. Even to the point of pushing the creation of a, quote, strike force to involuntarily detain you up to 10 days, if you're infected, in so-called quarantine camps. This is coming out of Washington State. The Board of Health there are pushing this rule change. It would allow local health officials to, and I'm going to quote here, issue an emergency detention order causing a person or group of persons to be immediately detained for purposes of isolation or quarantine. This is insanity. It is frightening on its face. Government rounding up the people under the rouse of public safety. We have the right to be free.
When we left the convention hall, a woman, quite frantic, came up to me. I knew her. She was the wife of the mayor of Philadelphia. And she said, Dr. Franklin, what have you done? What kind of government do we have? Is it a republic or a monarchy? And I said, my dear woman, it's a republic, if you can keep it.
And certainly that right extends to our homes. So how close is this rule to being passed in Washington State? Well, joining me now to decipher the madness and offer local insight to how close this bill is to passing, Republican Washington State Representative Jim Walsh is here. Representative Walsh, good to have you on the program.
Good to speak with you, Grant, and welcome to Washington, where it's Alice in Wonderland.
It's amazing to me. Is this going to go through?
No, Grant, it's not. What this is what here in Washington we call the Washington Administrative Code. So it's not law, and it's certainly not constitution. When you think of public policy, think of it as a pyramid. At the top is the Constitution. Right beneath that is statute, proper law, bills passed by the legislature, signed by the governor or president. Under that, there's a bunch of other stuff, including administrative code. Here in Washington, we call it the Washington Administrative Code, or WAC. In DC, they call it the Code of Federal Regulation, CFR. It's bureaucratic rules, as you've said. And down there, too, are executive orders and emergency proclamations and all things like that.
And so Representative Walsh, what is to stop a tyrannical bureaucrat? Because these regulations, as we call them, are often more dangerous than laws because you're not getting a say as a member of the legislature there and getting them passed. What's to stop them from just pushing it through?
Well, ultimately, Grant, I believe the people are going to stop them from pushing them through. Our Constitution in Washington says right at the start, all political power is inherent in the people. And that's what these tyrannical bureaucrats forget, or maybe they never knew. And I put a lot of the fault for this in our state at the foot of our governor, Jay Inslee, who has been operating for almost 2 years under an emergency declaration that had to do with the COVID outbreaks. And it's a situation where the spirit of our law, by which the people grant the governor these emergency powers, emergency declaration, anticipated an emergency to be something that might last a few weeks. Think of a terrible earthquake or something that needs quick recovery, not 2 years.
Do you know, Representative Walsh, we are now 666 days into slow the spread. That's today. An interesting number, coincidence to say the least, I hope.
Yes.
This is not just Washington State, by the way. New York State, all the way on the other coast, is offering up this bill. I'll read what it says in here. Very similar to the rule. Now, this is a bill. Yours is a regulation in Washington. Such person or group of persons, this is Tier 2, if we could throw it up. Such person or group of persons shall be detained in a medical facility or other appropriate facility or premises designated by the governor. So there you have it. not just Washington, New York. Are you amazed at the lengths the left is willing to go to control us?
It is about control, and that's right. And it's preposterous to me that people who purport to be politically progressive of the left will support public policy, whether it's bureaucratic rule or bill, that involuntarily detains people, isolates or quarantines people. I mean, this goes to dark places, Grant. This is not civil liberties. This is autocratic behavior. It's not American.
My biggest fear, Jim Walsh, is that at some point the people are going to break in all of this, and it's not going to look good when they do. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And as you said, we never advocate violence or anything like that. But the people are about fed up with what's going on with their governments. Jim Walsh, I appreciate you coming on. I know you have a huge fight ahead of you in the state of Washington, but we appreciate you fighting it. Thank you.
We're going to keep fighting, Grant. Don't worry.
Have you noticed that as everything around you seems to decline, one thing still grows? It is the power of your rulers. None of their plans and directives have solved your problems or made your life better. The only result has been their increased control over you at the cost of your freedom. Do you know why? You gave them the power.